evening, everyone. Welcome to the Springfield Township Board of Trustees meeting. It is March 8th, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. Mr. Burning, may we please have the roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Burning?
Present.
Ms. McFarland?
Present.
Mr. Honolaw?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
Next, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first thing on our agenda this evening is our financial report from our fiscal officer, Dan Burning.
Yeah, Joe, for the month ending February 29th, 2016, the township's expenditures were $1,502,597.40. With receipts, the receipts were $4,381,054.71. The ending cash balance was $19,950,308.33, and that includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvements, projects, and investments. What I do request is a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, update, and current revenue and reports for the period ending February 29th, 2016.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administrative offices during regular business hours and on our website. That's all I have, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, moving on to departmental action and discussion items. Mr. Gilbert, do you have a report for us?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Hunterlaw. This evening we have several action items and discussion items for the board. First, I have actually two different canine agreements that we enter into every year at this time regarding our two canine officers, Officer Carter and Officer Sheeler. These agreements are relative to their off-duty dog care activities and what the township's responsibilities are, as well as what the officers' responsibilities are. Again, this is a standard agreement that we have with our canine officers that we do every year, so I would ask the board to entertain a motion to authorize, or actually to enter into these agreements with the two officers.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That's for both agreements, Chris? Am I correct? Okay.
The next item I have on the agenda is to award the new truck body and accessory package for the new salt truck that was purchased. We had a bid opening, and we had one bidder actually that could meet the specifications. And I don't know, Mike, if you want to elaborate on this project or this bid.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the bid results, even though we only received one bid. The one bid that we received was from Henderson Products. They're the same vendor that built the truck last year. They did an awesome job, and just the way they constructed it, maintenance, customer service, all the way around. I think there's something to be said for consistency when it comes to maintaining these high-priced vehicles and equipment. So it would be my recommendation upon legal review that the board awards a contract to Henderson Products.
It did come in about $1,000 under the budgeted amount of $67,000. The actual bid was $65,989.
And during the bid opening, me and Mike talked. I mean, these people do everything in stainless steel where most people don't. I mean, it's just, there's not many people that can work with stainless steel like this company does.
That's correct. If you ever have a chance to take a look at the truck, just the craftsmanship of the truck versus some of our other previous vendors is just, there's something to be said about that. And, yes.
Well, and we've learned from experience that the stainless steel is critical with the salt. The salt just eats the ordinary steel ones, just eats them up in no time. When you say this, like more than doubles the life of the
Absolutely,
equipment.
yeah. You certainly, when the truck itself, the truck and chassis itself are no longer operable, you can certainly take that stainless steel bed and also some of the accessories that go along with it and transfer it to a new truck. So we are certainly investing into the future by going with stainless steel.
Okay.
So with that, I would ask the board to entertain a motion to award the salt truck body and accessory package to Henderson Products.
So moved.
Pending legal review. Sorry, I was remiss.
Does she have to review everything?
I do.
Yes.
Well,
Mark?
pending legal review, I second it.
You second, okay.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next thing I have on the agenda is, as the board knows and is aware, we have various recycling dumpsters as well as actually solid waste dumpsters at township facilities for our own purposes, as well as the public's purpose relative to the recycling dumpsters. We are currently in an agreement with Rumpke. That agreement was set to expire. We actually did, it was actually set to renew. We went out and entertained bids from other suppliers, Best Way, Republic, as well as Rumpke. I'm pleased to say that Rumpke came in with a bid that was lower both than the other supplier as well as lower than the current agreement that we had in place that was set to renew. So I would ask that the board authorize the administrator to execute that agreement with Rumpke for the solid waste and recycling dumpsters for township facilities. Again, at a lower price than what we currently were
Is
with.
that 3 years?
Actually, yes.
So moved.
And, you know, it's a great thing that we're saving money, so I'm very comfortable with seconding that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item we have is a modification to the current agreement we have with the St. Francis Group, which is our master developer for the core district or the water property. As the board is aware, we've been in discussions with them regarding basically changing the term to the agreement and adding an additional year to the original agreement to allow us to further market the property, develop conceptual plans, and work with the various community groups and looking at ways in which we can develop a development plan for the property. So they had asked, and we were amenable to adding an additional year to that agreement to allow us to get through those processes as well as the possibility of going through a rezoning process. So I would ask that the board, again, authorize the administrator to execute an amended or modified agreement with the St. Francis Group that basically extends the original agreement for a period of 1 year.
That seems reasonable. I make a motion that we approve that agreement.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The last two items I have under action items are approvals and authorizations of the administrator into agreements with a Master for uniform services for the police department, and then an additional approval to allow them to enter into an agreement for the road department. Laura, I know you worked on this agreement with both Rob and Mike, and I don't know if you want to elaborate, but if I'm not mistaken, the Master is going to be able to offer us things that UniFirst could not, and actually at a lesser cost, correct?
There's a cost difference. As I understand, it was mainly a service issue with the prior vendor. We had used Apparel Master in 2014, is that one?
That is correct. Yeah,
Think
about a
so.
little over 2 years ago.
Yeah, and we had actually switched to UniFirst purely on cost to try to see if that would make sense. It really hasn't. It's been a problem with that vendor. We want to go back to Apparel Master. So we're executing the contract. Their standard contract is 60 months, and this is exactly the negotiation we went through in 14. We don't do contracts that long for just this reason. In case there is a service problem, we don't want to be tied into a contract that long. So we're asking for 2, did they agree to 2
A little
years?
over 2 years, till December 31st.
Yeah, we're trying to keep all our contracts ending in December 31st, because that's just more sense. We have so many contracts that we don't want to remember this one cancels in October. So we'll take this to December 31st, which is a little over a 2-year period, which is what we did previously. We significantly amend this contract, and they agree to that, which is very kind of them, because we scratched out all but maybe 4 words of their standard contract. So, and that's been helpful too. We have termination provisions in there that they don't typically have. It's a very good contract, and they agree to it. So the term will be 8 months plus 2 years. So it's a reasonable term, reasonable contract. We have the cost of replacement put in there for in case something happens. They're always very good to work with on the negotiation. So it's almost identical to the contract in 2014.
Yes, in a nutshell, we're going to get better customer service at a lower cost at a savings. That's definitely
So I would ask the board to actually entertain two separate motions. One, to authorize the administrator into a contract with Apparel Master for uniforms and materials for the police department. And then secondarily, an authorization to enter to an agreement with Master for the same for the road department.
Do we have a motion then to enter into a contract with Apparel Master for the police department?
So move.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And do we have a second motion to enter into a contract with Apparel Master for the road department?
So move.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item I have is a discussion item relative to the neighborhood enhancement grant. As the board is aware, and we talked about this in our budget work sessions as well, and I think we even mentioned it at the State of the Township address that we had this past Sunday, was the creation of a neighborhood enhancement grant process, which would be administered through the Community Improvement Corporation. Essentially, what this program would be to allow neighborhood associations to apply to the CIC through this grant process for funding to do projects in a neighborhood that traditionally wouldn't be a township-oriented function. That may be aesthetic improvements, whether it be landscaping, signage, entrance, creating a sense of place for their particular neighborhood, or is it capital improvements to a facility or something of that nature that their neighborhood association runs for that particular neighborhood. Essentially things that improve the quality of life or do something to better a particular neighborhood. And I know the board in this year's budget set aside some funds to allow the CIC to administer this grant program. And essentially, I just wanted to bring it up today to let you know that those materials have been completed. And I know we have a CIC meeting in the morning, which I expect the CIC board to take action to approve those materials. And I think at this point in time, all I wanted to do is really just inform the board that those materials have been completed. That process, I think, is ready to be underway, and just wanted to announce it to the public that that grant process will be out there for individual neighborhood associations to apply for. We'll make that known, and the application process will spell out exactly who's eligible, what the type of projects would be able to be applied for, and how the application should be completed. So, unless the board has any questions, obviously, you'll get a chance to review and make a determination on it tomorrow.
From my perspective, I know that there are several communities that have been interested in learning more about this enhancement grant and what steps they can take to improve their communities. And so I think they were just waiting until we got to this point today.
Yeah, there's been a request for some time of neighborhood associations to, they've asked the township to do certain things for their community that
That's correct.
isn't the traditional role for the township. This is a mechanism in which we can help those associations and help those neighborhoods accomplish their objectives and complete those projects that at the same time also benefit the neighborhood, which is a goal of not only the township, it's obviously a goal of the CIC, which is one of the reasons it was created, is to strengthen the economic base of the township as well as improve neighborhoods. So I think it's a win-win for both the community and the neighborhood. And I hope and I look forward to reviewing those applications, and I look forward to some successful projects that this program will allow for neighborhoods.
Excited about it.
The other items, we have personnel update, and not a lot of activity there. We do have, though, one major announcement in the service department, which is the retirement of our road supervisor, Scott Hadsel. His date of retirement will be April 1st, and Scott is a longtime employee of the township and has provided many years of service to the township, and we will miss his institutional knowledge greatly. However, we wish him luck in his retirement, and I expect that we would have him in April and formally recognize Scott for his years of service with the township. And I don't know, Mike, if you want to add anything. When exactly did Scott start with the township? Do you remember?
I don't know the exact date, but I know that Scott's been with the township for over 30 plus years, or over 30 years. Like I said, I think he worked at Rumpke previously and then came here to the township and has been here ever since. Scott demonstrates what it's like, to start as a laborer, move up from a crew leader to a road supervisor. He certainly has invested everything he has into the township and has been an integral part in the success of the road department.
The good news is we do have, while we'll miss him and his knowledge immensely, we do have some very strong internal candidates to fill that position. And we have posted that internally, and internal current employees are currently applying for that position. So we expect it to be filled sometime in the next 45 to 60 days. But again, we do have some very strong candidates to backfill Scott's position. So that is all I have. The board has copies of the departmental activity reports, so unless there are any questions regarding those, that just concludes my report.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Chief Leininger, good to see you here. I saw you come in. I understand you've been out on a fire run.
Yes, sir. We had a fire at the apartment complex on Meredith. There were no civilian injuries or firefighter injuries, fortunately. There was considerable property damage, however. There was one family that will be displaced. We've been assisted by the Red Cross to accommodate that family. But everybody worked well together. We relied on mutual aid from Mount Healthy and North College Hill. They were extremely helpful. Also EMS from Coleraine. So together, we worked very well together, and we were able to put the fire out quickly and save a substantial part of the building. As you know, those apartment complexes are like 3 and 4 units attached, and we kept it from jumping and getting into the other units. So we made a good stop. Firefighters did a nice job, but most importantly is nobody was hurt, and we're able to save a dog. So we're proud of that. All life has value to us, so we saved a dog, so it was successful.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Very,
Thank you.
very good. Thanks
you.
for all your hard work.
We've been pretty busy this past 30 days. I mean, we had another major fire
Yes,
with a catastrophe fatality.
unfortunately, yes,
And,
ma'am.
it's something that we're going to, we have a resolution where we have to do a hearing, get prepared for a public hearing. And, I know the neighbors in both neighborhoods are very glad that we're doing the job that you're doing. You're doing a great job. And the property that we have the resolution on, the neighbors are very concerned as well, about the property and what we are going to do as far as the next step so that we can take care of that property. So that is
That's
one of
all
our,
important part of it. Unfortunately, when there is property damage, oftentimes that property is left alone.
yes.
And, but again, our recommendation, and I commend the board for being proactive and trying to resolve that situation. That'd be good for the neighbors. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda this evening, we have resolutions. The first resolution before the board is Resolution Number 18, 2016, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is Resolution Number 19, 2016, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 20, 2016, declaring a dangerous property condition at 9643 Timber Mill Court.
Joe, I'm sorry.
And that's probably, actually, we're probably going to set that for a hearing, aren't we?
We will. I would ask that after the board takes action on this resolution, that we take a separate motion to schedule a public hearing, which is required by statute, to allow the board and the township to move forward with demolishing the property. It's actually, we send notice to all lien holders of record, notifying them that our intent to demolish the property. The public hearing allows them to come and explain why the township should not move forward with that demolition. At this time, before taking action on the resolution, it may be wise to allow Chief Leininger to explain his recommendation as to why he determined that the property should be demolished and declared dangerous. I have a report that you've seen from Chief Leininger that he has declared the property to be insecure, unsafe, and structurally defective and unfit for human habitation. I think the pictures are clear. And at this time, Rob, if you would explain a little more about the property and the condition of the property at this time.
Yes. As you're aware, under the Ohio Revised Code, part of my responsibility is to evaluate properties to determine whether or not they're unsafe and uninhabitable and so on. So after the fire, I did just that. There was substantial property damage. The structure, the integrity of the structure has been jeopardized. There's roof collapse. There are sections of the floor that have collapsed. And so the structure does need to be condemned and steps taken to remove that property from the neighborhood. Not only that, not only is the structure unsafe, but it also imposes what I would consider a significant health hazard as well, because it now becomes a structure where animals can hide, and it attracts rodents and so on. So being proactive to knock down that building as quick as possible would be my recommendation.
Thanks, Rob.
So
Thank you.
with that,
Thank you, Chief, and all that testimony was regarding the property at 9643 Timber Mill.
Yes, sir.
so with that, I mean, obviously you need a motion then to pass the resolution as read.
Do we have a motion then to pass resolution number 20, 2016?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
At this time, relative to that motion and that declaration of dangerous property condition at 9643 Timber Mill, I would ask the board to entertain a motion to set a public hearing for that dangerous property for 5 p.m. on March 22nd. If, as the board's aware, we have a permanent appropriations hearing on that day at 5:30. So I would ask that we hold that public hearing, and I will advertise as such for that public hearing at 5 o'clock on the 22nd, if that works for everyone.
Yes,
That's fine with me.
That'll work.
seems to make sense, yes.
And then, of course, we're going to notify or have something posted on the property.
It'll be posted on the property, and we send notice to all lien holders of record of the property as well.
Okay, and neighbors. No, so they'll know somehow.
They'll know, but the point of the hearing is for people that have a monetary interest in that property to
Right.
come and
Right.
argue why the town should not move forward with the demolition is the statutorily required reason we have the hearing.
Okay,
So,
We
we just
have-
need a motion.
Motion.
so moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have resolution number 21, 2016, authorizing the disposal of unneeded and unfit for use property by private sale.
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Or Ms. McFarland? Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Resolution carries. I apologize.
Okay.
I can't write and speak at the same time.
Very good. Okay. Next, on our agenda, we had an item previously which, Gwen, I'm going to let you address.
Okay. Thank you. We like to recognize and continue to recognize all those individuals that live and reside in our community for the great things that they do. And I'm so happy today that we have a woman, and we were hoping she would be here this evening. She is celebrating her 100th birthday. And my understanding is she's just as spry as and I'm from the country, a chicken, that's one of the things we say, it's one of my terms. And so we have a centenarian recognition. And this is really interesting for me because I was in a meeting this past week with the Hamilton County Health District, and they had this data which showed throughout our county the lifespan of the residents that's in our townships or villages. And in Springfield Township, it's 75 years old. Well, she is 100. So I made them aware of that this week, and so, it's probably going to skew our numbers really great. But we're going to recognize her, and centenarians are they're like living links in our history, and they're valued members of our families and our community. And we admire the spirit, and anyone that's ever sat with a person that was older and wiser than any of us, just their spirit alone is just inspiring. So we're going to present this to her because she's our oldest resident, and we're honoring her today on her 100th birthday. So we will determine, follow up and give her this plaque as well. So we were hoping she would be here this evening, but there must have been a problem with the date. Her name is, that's very important, her name is Mrs. Coral Cruz. All right, and this is the recognition that we will give her. I'd like to personally go to her house.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
All right, very good. Thank you, Gwen. We appreciate that.
If I lived 100, are you going to come to my house?
Of course. I'll have
Okay.
Rob, Nim, and Chief and Mike helping me to get there possibly. Because I'll be 150 probably by then, right?
Close.
Do we have any old business before the board this evening?
I do not.
Do we have any new business?
I just want to share some information. As I shared with you earlier, I'm a member, I'm the chairperson of the Hamilton County Health District, and we had this meeting, we meet once a year as a group, but we meet several times during the year to look at and evaluate and analyze all of our communities in Hamilton County, as well as looking at the trends that you see amongst the different communities. And they have something called equity, health equity. And it looks not just at the physical health of the community, but the social health and the mental health and all the health aspects that are health equity. So when I looked at Springfield Township, we have some trends that we're seeing. You know, we still have a high incidence of cancer and cardiac problems. But the thing that's really affecting all of us, not only in Hamilton County, but globally, is the Zika virus. Now, I know everyone's heard about this, but it's more concerning now. And, you know, it's almost like deja vu when we talked about West Nile a couple years ago. This one is much more devastating, and when you look at many of our townships, villages, and municipalities, we have culverts, ponds, where water just sits still. And that water sitting still are breeding points and spots for the mosquitoes, and that they lay their eggs in there. And then the most important thing is that we don't get bit by them, and if we do everything we can to prevent it. But the other thing that's super important is we should not be traveling anywhere south of where the virus is really prevalent. So if you know anyone, your neighbors or yourself, the worst thing we want is for a young person to be either in their pregnant or contemplating pregnancy, and then they travel down to the southern area where the virus is really, really prevalent. So if you have anyone in your family that's considering that, please educate them about postponing the vacation, because the major complication if you're pregnant is that you can have a baby with an abnormally small head. And if that infant should live past the first year, they're going to have a lot of problems, mental problems, because of the size of the head. The head is not growing. So one of the things that we're reminding all of us, and I spoke with Mike, our service department person, is that if you have in your community or in your backyard or any water that's just sitting still, you need to put some type of pesticide in there. And I'm going to ask you again, if you can kind of educate them what type of pesticide before I go on any further.
When it comes to infrastructure that we maintain, and when we receive phone calls similar to what you brought to my attention earlier, what we do is we'll respond and we purchase these, what they're called mosquito dunks. And they look like small little donuts, little white powdered donuts that my kids eat all the time. They look just like that. But you put that in the stagnant water, and what it does is it prevents further breeding of the mosquitoes, and it prevents anything that's currently, any larvae or anything like that that's currently in the stagnant water. It doesn't allow it to develop. We've had a lot of success for them. So, if you come across an area and you feel as though this is a township, and we certainly can't go on private property, that's up to the property owner, but any infrastructure that the township maintains, feel free to call our admin and we'll send somebody out if it's not myself. to come out and investigate and take things from there.
And the thing that's real critical as well is this virus, this mosquito, once they're out there and they're very active, they are most active during the daytime. And that's the time when most individuals are working in their yards or doing something, outside. So then you should dress accordingly with long sleeves and et cetera, and do everything you can to prevent getting bit. And so if you want and need more information, you can go onto the Hamilton County Health District website, and they have a very good fact sheet that looks similar to this, that will give you more information about how you can protect yourself, protect your loved ones as well. But I thought that they would be more aggressive. Seemed like I used to get bitten at night, but they say these buddies are real aggressive during the daytime. So we just have to keep our community safe to the best of our ability. And they like to live in high weeds as well. So we need to mow our yard, and then our men that are out there, men and women that are working with nuisances, when they're mowing the grass that may be high, they need to be very careful, be dressed protectively as well.
We provide them suits. They have full suits that they can dress
Okay.
up into when it's needed.
Okay. So that was very interesting, and there are a lot of us, like in the suburban areas, are concerned about this as well. And so it's important for all of us to educate our community about the prevalence of the Zika virus. That's all I have.
All right, very good, Glenn. Thank you. Anything else before the board? With that, then, we come to citizens' participation. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to address the board? If there is, I'd ask that you step up to the podium, state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Dave Hughes, 853 Denier Place. I'm president of the Denier Place Street Association. And Chris, I'm interested, I wasn't familiar with this neighborhood association improvements. Of course, we're a private street. I don't know if we qualify, but maybe we can talk about that. That's,
Potentially, yes.
okay, that's, we're getting ready to do a lot of curb and pothole repair over the next couple of months, and it's something that we all just chip in and do.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank you and Mike and Cam for engaging us on the meeting we had last week about Water Nursery. We still have this wide chasm between what we want to happen, but I think, you and Mike made an excellent point that we need to stay engaged regardless of what happens. At some point, and we're not close yet, but we're going to need to meet for New Water's future, because we don't know yet what's going to happen. If it doesn't get developed, there are other options, and of course, Keep Water Wild will be as active in that as possible. Just things like public access and eradicating invasive species, and obviously passion is running very high. People really want to see it be the potential that it can be. So, that's really about it. The master plan committee, I'm glad that you're doing that. What I question is, will it be a rubber stamp for the trustee to say, well, the committee voted on this and we have to abide by that decision? And if you have people from Seymour Avenue and Bridgetown and Hartwell saying, well, yes, we'd like to see this developed, well, they don't have any skin in the game, so why would they say no? I appreciate that we have more people from Finneytown on this committee than we had, and so that was considerate. But let's just be aware that if it looks like a rubber stamp, I don't think it's going to fly. Okay. Okay, that's really about it. I don't know if there's any questions. We have a new website called keepwaterwild.org. So you're welcome to learn more about us. There are a lot of people involved in this. What's been exciting for me is that I didn't realize how passionate neighbors would be. And to talk to people door to door and to see how much it means to them to have a community they want to have has been very gratifying. And we'll be staying involved. So thank you so much. Are there any questions or?
Dave, the only thing I would say is the neighborhood master, plan, the group and the ultimate recommendations that group comes up with, we're going to, as a board of trustees, look at that, and that's a broad cross-section of people from every, neighborhood in the community. But it's not something that, it's not like it's legally binding on the board of trustees, or it's not something that's going to be a simple rubber stamp. As elected officials, we have a fiduciary duty, I think, a legal duty, to do what is in the best interest of the township. And so we'll take into account all the comments, all the feedback, everything that comes about as a result of that process, as we decide, what's the best way to move forward. And I do appreciate you. It's important. You're right. We need to stay engaged. We want to get feedback from the residents. We want to hear your perspective. We want to get everybody's perspective as we try and figure out what's the best thing to do here for the township.
Yeah, and Joe, I understand that you're not just looking to fill it with buildings. I know that there's been a lot of studies and you want to do it right.
Exactly.
Our position is still that it needs to be a park or a preserve, and we need to take a look at that option very hard. So,
right.
But I appreciate that, you have the township in mind.
Dave, I can say that, I apologize, but I can say, obviously, that point, I think, doesn't fall on deaf ears with the board.
Mhm.
And that viewpoint definitely is something that we need to hear, along with the people that, support the development. And I think that's exactly why, even outside of this process of the neighborhood master plan that you indicated is people from outside of Finneytown making decisions on things that may affect particular neighborhoods more than others, which is exactly why we want to stay engaged with the Keep Water Wild group, which is exactly the reason we suggested the meeting last week, and why we want to stay engaged so that we keep that dialogue going and hear that other side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? It appears that there is not this evening. Our next regular meeting will be April 12, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.